So you did it. You convinced your friends and or family to play Dungeons and Dragons. You got your DM screen, you got your fancy dice, you have your resources, whether physical or online. There's just one thing. You didn't write a story. You don't know where to begin. How am I supposed to play this game? I've convinced everyone with the promises of pizza and beer to play this game, but I have nothing ready. Here's what you do. So coming up with your first campaign. So when I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons, my initial thought was, I subscribed to D&D Beyond. I bought whatever bundle thingy there was at the time to get all the books, because I was like, what, I'm all in. We're doing this. I started reading Hoard of the Dragon Queen, and it didn't make any sense. I had read Hoard of the Dragon Queen before I had ever played the game before. So before we sat down for session 0 of the first thing that we did, I didn't know what to do. So I read through it. I read through the first 2 chapters. So when the town's getting attacked, and then subsequently you go to the cultist camp to liberate the monk and bring him back to the town, I read all that stuff, and I had nothing. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make a campaign. I can do this. I've listened to podcasts. I can write episodes, quote unquote. So if you watched the last video, we went over plan out what you think you're going to get done in each of your sessions, at least when you're starting, like if you're kind of winging it, I guess. So, all right, I have 3 hours. I think I'll be able to do this. And then kind of figure out your campaign in different chunks like that. That way you feel like stuff's getting done every time you guys meet up. Now, the way that I first started writing my campaigns to get my foot in the door and things like that, admittedly a little more railroady than how I like to play now, but this will help beginners. If everyone's a beginner, there's nothing wrong with railroading people a little bit, as long as you're not forcing them to do exactly what you want, but you're hitting all these different story beats. So I figured I'd make this video. It'll probably be shorter than the other one. Check out the other one or ones if you haven't yet. All that YouTube-y jargon that people always say. But when I was writing campaigns, you have an outline for, effectively what you want this arc or story or episode or whatever to do. And it can be difficult to think of exactly what to do. So the way that I like to do it, it's a little bit more open now, but the way that I like to do it, and think of cool stuff you want them to do. All right, awesome. So we're doing this story. So the first thing that we ever did, I called it Kobolicious, and it was there were kobolds living in the ruins of an ancient city under a different city, and at some point the city's sewer system kind of ran through the kobolds' main water source. They didn't like that, so they wanted to come up and either remove the humans and other folks or kill them or integrate. They just didn't want to be in the poopy water anymore. So the way that I kind of wrote that story was, all right, so first thing I want to happen, I want whatever building they're in, there's going to be an explosion. Kobolds are going to burst through. We're going to have this cool bar fight with kobolds. Didn't go remotely as planned, but sounds neat. So, all right. And then another thing I want, all right, cool. So when they're in the city, I want them sneaking around. I want them to do some stealth checks. I want some people to mess up, make a cool scene about it. Oh my God. And then they got to fight some stuff. Oh. Then when they get to the bottom, they're going to see the fact that the kobolds are angry because of the poopy water. Cool. They got that. And then story beat number 4, they're going to find the kobold leader and they're going to deal with them. So I wrote those 4 things down. And then I filled everything in. At the beginning, I was more railroady, but I filled in what I wanted them to do. And as I started to go through even those first 4 or 5 sessions where we played that, kind of leave it a little bit more open. So I had those 4 things, those four story beats I wanted to hit, and I let the players kind of run through them. Now, as we've kind of moved along and done more stuff. So now almost, a year and a half later, we have Eberron Heist, which I took admittedly parts of the Mines of Phandelver book, and I kind of incorporated other stuff I wanted to do into that. So when I was writing that campaign, it was, all right, cool, I want to have a train heist. All right, well, let's work back from that. How are you going to get that train heist? Well, they're robbing a train. Maybe they're robbing a mine, but it goes wrong and they need to get the stuff. Okay, cool. And work back further from that. Find out what hooks you're going to have in your story and then write your story around that. I find that to be much easier than just kind of going through chapter by chapter, moment by moment, whatever, building by building, in kind of doing that. So it's a different way than, and maybe this is how they write the D&D books, all the storybooks and stuff. Maybe they want to have these cool moments, and then they pepper in the towns and the NPCs and all that other kind of fun stuff in there. But when you're reading it, that's not how you read it. You don't read, this is going to culminate in this battle. And that's how you got there. It's just, do this, and then there's the cool thing. So when I was first starting out, and even a little bit now, and I like the source books. I haven't gotten a chance to run any of them yet, at least at the time of this recording. The kind of modding Phandelver was the closest I got to running a Wizards of the Coast thing. But, reading through them now, after I've run a couple of different campaigns or story arcs where I wrote it down this way, it makes the books make more sense. And now if I were to go back and run Hoard of the Dragon Queen, which apparently most people dislike, but I think you could make that story interesting and cool if you take the bits and pieces of it and kind of pare it down a little bit. It makes running one of those Wizards games flow better because you have an idea of, setting the scene and things like that. So, yeah. Moral of the story: come up with cool set pieces, and then write what happens. Or like, we need to do X, Y, and Z. How we get to those places, we'll just kind of figure it out as we go. That's the way that I like to DM. Personally, that's the way that I like to write my stories and my campaigns. And I forgot if it was Amy Heading or maybe somebody else from Naughty Dog, but when they were making either Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 3, or maybe both because they made those games back to back, they talked about how, all right, cool, we think of all the cool shit we want Drake to do, and then we figure out a way to connect all those things later on. So, him being in the bar fight at the beginning of 3, or him climbing up through the train at the very beginning, something like that. So all of that kind of stuff, and all the other countless moments in those games, all those really cool moments that you remember upon reflection of playing the game, they wrote those first, and they found neat ways to get you from point A to point Q. So keep that in mind when you're writing your homebrew campaigns. But rambly video, it's what I do. If you guys like the video, go ahead and like it. Give us a subscribe if you love it. Go ahead and okay, it's over there. It's weird because it's backwards for me. Go listen to Critical Failure, the D&D podcast, brought to you by people that don't really take the rules super serial. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next little quick DM tip ramble video. I need to think of a name for these things.